When you're trying to introduce new plants to a landscape, one of the problems you run into is critters. Critters like to dig around new plants, whether they're foraging for nuts or using the area as a restroom. How can you wall off your new plants from the critters? Well, you can make barriers, but let me show you how I upped my plant barrier game. Now I have critter-free new plant zones. I used to simply staple screen mesh to wooden dowels, but I found out that this method wasn't always the best. The staples never seemed to drive all the way into the dowels. They were always like halfway, just like that, and that meant the staples would pop out more times than not. So I decided to go with good old-fashioned zip ties. Now what I did was I cut up about a half dozen wooden dowels, and I measured them to be about 26-28 inches each. That way I would have about 20 inches of length above ground, but a half a foot to really drive these guys into the ground so they wouldn't go anywhere. And then I drilled 3 holes, one near the top, one at the center, and one near the bottom, that I could attach screen mesh, basically screen door mesh, to these wooden dowels using zip ties. Zip ties are not only easier to attach the mesh to the wooden dowels, it's actually safer. I mean, you don't want to risk a staple getting popped out and maybe somebody steps on it, or even a critter somehow steps on it. I mean, we have a dog, and our issue is cats. I want to keep the cats out of the areas where I'm planting either new grass or new plants of whatever kind. And so I don't want to see, our furry friends get hurt. So zip ties adds to the safety, and of course, as mentioned, they're just so much easier to work with. Zip ties at the top, middle, and bottom of each wooden dowel is sufficient to guard our new plants from critters. We would require some really wily critters to get through these barriers. I haven't seen any that smart yet. So my mesh barriers are pretty functional. I get the ground nice and waterlogged. It makes it a lot easier to install the wooden dowels. And what I do is I install the first dowel, and then I install the second dowels after I've placed the first dowel. It's just a little easier to space things out. And then I zip tie the second, third, fourth, whatever dowels after the first one's been installed. You won't need much in the way of tools, a rubber mallet, a hose, and of course some zip ties, and that's pretty much it. And the nice thing about this mesh is if you have sprinklers you want to use, the water will penetrate the mesh, so you won't even need to break out the hose to water your new plants. In this video, I'm using these mesh barriers to establish new plantings of Asian Jasmine. Asian Jasmine is actually a ground cover. It's a very hardy ground cover. The goal is to get it well established so that it covers up the bare earth like the spot you see in the foreground, and that should prevent animals from digging around into our front yard. I spent a grand total of roughly 20 bucks for the screen mesh, the wooden dowels, and the zip ties. So obviously a cost-effective project. Anyway, I hope this helps you with your landscaping dilemmas. If it did, please subscribe to my DIY channel. Thanks for watching.